I know that for everyone near us in the Houston area, this week marks back to school. And whether you're local and going through that right now, or school hasn't started, or maybe started a few weeks ago, we all have the chaos that we have to control of packing lunches and early morning breakfasts and the rush of evenings and packing lunches ahead of time and bedtime snacks and just all the things that come with back to school. And those are all things that I want to talk about in upcoming episodes. But today, I want to hone in on kind of the heart matter of sending our kids back to school, because I know from having so many family friends who are sending their littles to, say, kindergarten for the first time, or sending just their kids to a new school or just back to school, so often we feel those heartstrings get tugged all the more this first week back. And so if this is something that could help just simplify your life as a mom and yet encourage your student in the year ahead, I want to give you the resources in this short and sweet episode of some of the tools that I found to be really encouraging when it comes to sending notes in our kids' lunchboxes.
Hey Mama, I'm Ashley, and welcome to the Veggies and Virtue podcast. In this podcast, you will find simple menu ideas, kitchen organizational systems spelled out for mom life, and feeding tips and tricks that are both evidence-based and grace-laced. I believe that you can find flexibility when it comes to feeding your family so that you can feel calm, capable, and connected in the kitchen. As a registered dietitian and Christian mom of 3 myself, I want you to break free from the mealtime battles and to feel equipped while feeding your kids all day long. Pull up a stool at my kitchen counter and let me pour you a cup of coffee and say a quick prayer for you. It's time to chat about the meal times, messes, moments, and ministry of motherhood.
So if you listen to episode 100, you know that every February I write these little love notes, so to speak, on my kids. Well, I mean, you can put them anywhere, but we put them on the kids' door, and I just, cut out little hearts and construction paper and just write little notes of encouragement. So if you want some really simple little prompts of words of encouragement that you could use, definitely go back to episode 100 for some of those ideas. But for the context of today's episode, I wanted to share with you just some of these tools that I found for back to school this year that I know are going to make my life a lot easier. If you've been following along on Instagram, as I've shared some of our journey and our choice to do a hybrid homeschool model, it's called the university model. So my girls will actually only be going to campus 2 days a week. My son, however, who's in pre-K, he's in a bridge program. So he's going to be going all 5 days as we kind of get our feet wet with this hybrid homeschool dynamic. And so with that, I'll be packing his lunches 5 days a week, but my second and fourth graders' lunches just the 2 days a week. So when I was buying the curriculum for my older two, for their school, it is a hybrid homeschool model, but this school provides us with an outline of what curriculum we need, and then we just need to order the resources. That kind of gave me the idea and just sparked the interest for me in sharing some of these ideas with each of you. Because whether you are someone who has never packed a note in your kids' lunch boxes, just feel like on the first day of school or maybe on a birthday or a random day you want to, or whether you're someone who wants to every day, it's just one of those sweet little touch points that I've chosen to do with my kids over the years, but it hasn't always happened every day. Because whether I pack lunches at night and I'm just brain dead by that point of the day and I think, oh, I'll pack it in the morning, or in the hustle and bustle of before school, I think I'll tuck a note in there. It just doesn't always happen. Of course, we can always default to the classic Post-it note with a little love you, have a great day, XOXO mom type thing. But because I found some really fun little resources that I'm excited to use with my kids this year, I wanted to go ahead and share them with you in case it might take some of the mental energy out of sending a sweet little note in your kid's lunchbox. It might just be a sweet point of connection that you could have with your kids as you send their lunches to school, but also if and as you want to tuck a note in their lunchbox as well. So I have 5 lunchbox notes that I personally have ordered, 4 of which I paid for, 1 of which is just a freebie. All the links for each of these are in the show notes. So just scroll down here and you can tap the link, you can shop for them. Each of them are $5 or less. And I'm going to try and share with you kind of price per note, just for perspective in case you want something that's a little bit more cost effective. I know that I've found some on Amazon over the years, and I found that they're kind of expensive, where I'm like, I'm not going to spend 50 cents per note when I'm packing lunches numerous days a week for multiple kids, that's just seems a little silly to me, knowing that they're going to get thrown in the trash. But if I can find something that's cute, endearing, and just kind of a fun little I'm thinking of you note to tuck in there, and it's a cost effective option, but also doesn't mean that I have to really like come up with a bunch of sweet things or creative notes each day, that's a win-win in my book. So that's why I wanted to share these with you in case you wanted something really encouraging, but also really cost effective. And that really gets us into the three things that I think are kind of helpful. And again, this is just as a mom who's been packing lunches for a few years now and whose kids, were in mom's day out and things like that before then. Some things that I would think about are these three things. Number one, how often do you want to send notes? Is this like maybe you want to just pick a day of the week, or maybe if you work outside the home there, that there's a night that you consistently work late, you pick that day as your special day that you're just going to send a note in their lunchbox. Maybe you just want to do it the first Friday of every month. Maybe you want to do it every day. Pick whatever is right for you, because right now we're going to see everyone's really eager and enthusiastic efforts for lunch packing. And there's always those comparison posts come May and June at the end of the school year of what a lunchbox looks like on the first day of school and what it looks like on the last day of school. So don't hear this episode or don't see the inclusion of these kind of notes in my kids' lunchboxes or in other people's lunchboxes and feel inferior or like there's any issue if you choose to do this differently. But I would encourage you to maybe think through how frequently do you want to include something like a little lunchbox note, so that you kind of set your own target and can find your own cadence with it, especially as you get into the school year, because it's so easy for all of us to start the school year strong. And then as with all of us, myself as a dietitian mom very much included, by the middle and towards the end of the school year, we can just start getting tired and we realize some of these things were just a little too ambitious of efforts to really stay consistent with. So first and foremost, ask yourself, how often do you want to send a lunchbox note? What feels like a good fit for you and or the needs of your child? Second is, how many kids do you have to send these for? In my dreams, I always think that my husband's going to like draw these adorable, amazing napkins every day for all three kids because he's an amazing artist. And I think that would be so fun. And he can draw way better than I can. And I could write a little sweet note and everything, but that's just not realistic. It's not realistic in frequency. It's also not realistic in the quantity with having three kids. So you need to think through how many kids you have and what's realistic for you in terms of the time spent actually writing a note and or the quantity of these lunchbox notes you may need if in the case you scroll down to the show notes and you decide to get one of the ones that I ordered. Again, I think the cost for these is one of the more cost-effective options I've seen, especially if you are sending lunchbox notes to multiple kids as I am. But then things like I mentioned with my son, he's going 5 days a week. My girls are only going 2 days a week. So these are just some of the things that I'm kind of thinking through. I don't have to send quite as many this year for the girls as say last year, but just kind of thinking through how often do I want to send them for each of the kids and being considerate of the fact that I do have 3 kids. So my efforts are going to need to be sustainable when lunch packing for several kids. The third and final thing that I would just really quick think through is what is your child able to comprehend? As I've mentioned in some of the episodes of the last couple of weeks, when we talk about developmental stages and ages that our kids are at, can they open the package of their granola bar or their cheese stick or their bento box or whatever it might be? We also want to think with something like a lunchbox note. Does this require their teacher to read it to them, or is this something that could communicate an endearing message of encouragement to them with language or symbols or pictures that they can understand? So be in tune with that, because as I share some of the ones that I got this year, my oldest is actually turning 5 in a few days. It's heartbreaking to even think about, but yes, my youngest is going to be 5. My daughter is 7 and my oldest is 9. And so with that, each of the kids are able to developmentally enjoy and understand these options, each of which I do believe say that they're intended for 5 and up, assuming that there's some ability to read and or at least understand if it was read to them. I know in my son's pre-K class last year, I would send notes and I would usually stick to really simple things like I heart you, just the letter U, XOXO mom. Those were all just letters and symbols. And little blends of letters like XOXO or mom that he could understand and that he could kind of read through even in his limited ability to read. And so that worked really well for us as just a simple sticky note. But now as, my kids get a little older and they can read and I can encourage them in a little bit more expansive or just in depth of ways, I find some of these tools to be really helpful. But just keep that in mind. So if you are sending a note that's maybe a little bit over your child's head, just make sure that maybe at Meet the Teacher or when you're sending them, ask your child, were they able to, have it read to them? Or, do you get the sense that maybe the teachers weren't able to because things were so busy or chaotic, especially at the beginning of school? Kind of feel out how your child's able to receive that during the day if it's not something that they can comprehend on their own. So with that, just thinking through those three things, I think that'll help give you some perspective of what might work best for your family. But without going into any further detail, I want to go ahead and jump into these 5 tools in case any of them might be helpful for you to have on hand this school year. Okay, now first I'll start off with saying that the first 4 I bought, I did buy from christianbooks.com when I was buying some of the curriculum for my kids' school. And so that's why I bought them. You might be able to buy them from other places. That said, I would say this first one that I'm mentioning, from what I've been able to tell so far, it doesn't seem like it's a faith-based option. If, say, you're not a Christian or you don't want something that, is at all a Christian type encouragement card. But with that, I feel it's pretty safe to say that these Lunchbox notes are pretty clean. And that's because this one is 101 tear-offs with laugh out loud jokes for kids. My kids love Laffy Taffy style jokes. I'm a sucker for them. My husband loves them. We just think they're always funny, and we try and teach the kids to learn a good joke and, kind of have fun jokes. So these are really fun because they have a funny little joke on the front. They give you the answer, and then on the back, it just has a little spot that you could write a note or write love mom, or, if your husband or a grandparent or a babysitter or whoever else might want to sign it, anyone could write on the back. And so I love these, especially as you kind of think of some of those icebreakers back to school, social relationships. I feel like these could be a really fun one to let your child know that you're thinking about them, but also give them some conversation content when they're at the lunch table. And so that they could be sharing with their friends or asking their classmates these jokes and just sharing a laugh at lunchtime with the kids that they're with. So for less than $5, I think this is a really fun and economical option that you could put in any child's lunchbox, but especially one who's of reading age and would appreciate a good joke. Another one of the ones that I found was one called Indescribable 100 Tear-Off Lunchbox Cards About God and Science. If you've heard of this book by Louis Giglio, there's a few in this collection in the Indescribable book. It's one that we have at home. We have a few of the different ones in this series. We are familiar with the Louis Giglio approach and graphics and language and things like that. And so I thought these ones were just really fun and kind of interesting because as you flip through them, they just share different fun facts with kids about God and science. So this is going to be a note that's looking through the lens of a Christian worldview, but I think it's just something, again, that's a fun, kind of interesting conversation starter for your child. But if your child tends to be someone who really loves, facts and interesting information and is always just really curious, and the kid who maybe is asking why a lot, something like this might be really interesting. One, if you haven't looked into the Indescribable book, I'd encourage you to kind of go down the rabbit trail that I'm sure clicking on the link at the bottom of the show notes would get you to, because I know that they sell it on christianbook.com. But with that, this is one that I thought would be kind of a fun thing to tuck in there, especially for like my 9-year-old. She'll be in 4th grade this year. This is one that she can comprehend and, read on her own more independently, but also kind of comprehend intellectually as well. So just something fun for, again, less than $5 and 100 of them. That made it a super cost-effective option that I thought could just be a fun one to tuck in there. The next 2 are separated as lunchbox notes for brave boys or courageous girls. They have just a little bit more masculine or feminine kind of graphics and things like that. But, I haven't looked through all of them yet to see if it specifically, uses any gender pronouns or anything like that. But really, it's just, I think you could probably use it for either girl or boy. But for me, when I looked at these, I just thought I knew that these would be ones that Owen, my almost 5-year-old, would really enjoy and that the girls would enjoy. With having 2 girls and 1 boy, but my son going twice as much, I bought one for him and one for the girls, knowing I could kind of split the one with the girls and just kind of tuck these in. And these are just really sweet, positive messages. There's a few that have like little unscramble these letters for a word or, a phrase that maybe says like, have a great day. It has fill in the blanks where you could say, thank you for, and then fill in the blank. And it says, you are one special kid. But on the back of each of these has a Bible verse, which I really like as well as just a little added note of encouragement for them. So there's different little notes that I think can just encourage them, something as simple as great job, I knew you could do it, to on the back of it having the Bible verse, 1 Corinthians 6:11, you are set apart for God-like living to do his work. So I just think they're really fun. They have like little sharks and different symbols on that. That's the Lunchbox notes for brave boys. And then in the Lunchbox notes for courageous girls, very similar in concept. It has a verse on the backside with a little bit more feminine of, pinks and purples and, light turquoise kind of colors and frills and flowers and things like that. But it just has really sweet little message of encouragement that, again, sometimes at the end of the day or first thing in the morning, I may not think to include, but, it says, unscramble the words below for a special message from me. You are courageous is clearly what it unscrambles to. And it says, yes, you are. And on the back, it says, wait for the Lord, be strong. Let your heart be strong. Yes, wait for the Lord. Psalm 27:14. So each one has a different Bible verse, but again, just a sweet little note of encouragement, especially if you are from a Christian family and you want to send something directly to your child that will just encourage them and offer them scripture for the day and just a little note of encouragement. Those are some other fun options that are a little bit more gender specific, I'd say. The fifth Lunchbox note that I want to encourage you to consider, again, the link is in the show notes, so just scroll down, and that's from my friend over at Watercolor Wednesday. She had actually shared these with me last year as a free printable. So if you don't want to buy any, you just kind of want to get proof of concept that you can even remember to tuck a note in a lunchbox, definitely go over and get this free download because one, they're just beautiful. I think they're like so pretty, but she's put different fruits and vegetables on each one that correspond to whatever the letter is. So like just looking at the front page here, it says A is for apple, and then B banana, C carrot, D dragon fruit. But with each one, it just has a little tagline. So it says, you are the apple of my eye, go bananas, I care about you a lot, you are so special to me. Those are just for those first four. And they're really sweet. You can just cut them out. You could print them every week that you wanted. You could print all 26 of them and then just kind of spread them out when you wanted to use them. But this would be a great option if you aren't really wanting to like actually go out and buy something, but you just want to kind of try something beyond just a piece of scrap paper or a Post-it note or something like that. I think these ones are really cute. And of course, I'm biased that they have fruits and vegetables all over them, but I also love the cute, sweet little phrases that she has. So you could print it on regular paper, print it on cardstock. You could do however you wanted, but I feel like this is a really fun one to maybe just get you started and to send some encouragement in your kids' lunchboxes. So go down to the link for the Watercolor Wednesday printable and you can get the free download there. So I hope that these 5 ideas were helpful for you. I hope that if this is something that just resonates with you and aligns with where your heart's at this week, or as your kids do go back, whatever week that might be, that this will give you a few of the tools that I have found that I want to use in the upcoming year, and I hope that will encourage you and your family in having that time of connection, whether you're homeschooling and actually eating meals together, or whether you're packing up a lunch and sending it with your child, or maybe your child buys school lunch and you just want to tuck it in with their snack. Whatever fits and feels most uplifting for your family and most doable for you, I'm totally in favor of, and I hope that this will help support you in doing so.
It has been a joy having you on the podcast today. And if you've enjoyed it as well, I have a quick favor to ask. Do you mind hopping over to Apple Podcasts and leaving me a written review? This will only take you a hot second, but it truly blesses me every time I get to read what one of you write over there, and it allows me to bless others through this podcast and the episodes to come. The other thing that you can do is to take a screenshot of this episode and tag me over on Instagram at Veggies and Virtue. I would love to see what action steps that you're taking from this episode, and also to support your family in the journey moving forward. Until next time, thanks for coming over to chat at my kitchen counter. Remember that you will always have a seat and a snack waiting for you here.